The wind whips through the wide plains of Burnett County, Texas, kicking up red dust that settles in the creases of Levi Crawford's weathered face. He's been up since before sunrise, feeding the horses, fixing the fence line, tending to a stretch of land that's been in his family for generations. A black man with calloused hands and tired eyes, Levi walks with the quiet dignity of someone who's learned to bear the weight of history without complaint. Out here, 50 miles from the nearest city, time moves slower. Folks say yes ma'am and no sir, wave from their trucks and gossip over church potlucks. But beneath the polite smiles and neighborly waves, there's a current, a tension so ingrained it's become invisible to those who benefit from it. Levi's the only black rancher for miles. Always has been. His late wife, Dolores, used to tell him, "This land don't love you, Levi. You love it, but it don't love you back." She'd laugh when she said it, but Levi always heard the warning behind the words. He still hears her voice some nights. It's been 5 months since the accident. Since Dolores died on that rain-slick road heading into town. Levi hasn't stepped foot in a courtroom since the funeral. He hasn't needed to. Until now. The summons came 2 weeks ago. A folded white letter, delivered by a smug sheriff's deputy who didn't bother to make eye contact. "You've got 30 days to vacate," it read, stamped by the county clerk. Disputed property ownership under review. Disputed. Levi stood on that porch for what felt like hours, letter in hand, heart pounding like a war drum. The land isn't just his livelihood, it's his identity. His family bought it after emancipation. His great-grandfather was the first black man in Burnett County to own land. And now, after all these years, someone's calling that ownership into question? At first, he thought it was a mistake. Maybe a paperwork error. But then he remembered the way Councilman Trent Whitaker looked at him during last month's town hall. The way he talked about revitalizing unused land and modernizing the county's agricultural output. Levi may be 62, but he isn't stupid. Trent's the kind of man who never had to work a day in his life. White, rich, and power-drunk. He sits on the zoning board, owns 3 cattle companies, and just so happens to have a developer friend from Austin sniffing around Burnett's edges. That's when Levi knew. This wasn't a mistake. It was a storm coming. And the only reason it hadn't hit yet was because Levi hadn't stood in its path. Yet. From his front porch, Levi stares out at the acres of golden fields, swaying under a bruised sunset. This land has buried his father, his wife, and his dreams. But he won't let it be stolen. Not without a fight. And certainly not without the truth. The courthouse papers don't lie. But they don't tell the whole truth either. Levi sits at his kitchen table, glasses perched low on his nose, scanning every line of legal jargon like it's a foreign language. Because it might as well be. Easement, revocation, partition suit, words meant to confuse, to overwhelm. His name is there, buried under paragraphs of claims and counterclaims. But the signature that hits him hardest belongs to someone else. Trent Whitaker. Councilman. Rancher. Pillar of the community, they say. The papers claim Levi's land was never properly surveyed. That the deed, passed down through his bloodline, contains inconsistencies. That the Whitaker family, who once owned everything in Burnett County, may have legitimate historical claim to sections of Levi's ranch. Historical. That word burns like fire in his chest. As if history ever worked in his favor. Levi folds the papers slowly, methodically, like a man folding a flag. He doesn't say a word, but something in the silence of the house shifts. Something deep. Dolores used to say a storm talks before it arrives. Not loud, but low, humming through the bones of the land. It's humming now. Later that afternoon, Levi rides into town. It's a hot walk down Main Street. White picket fences, Confederate statues standing like ghosts on corners, kids eating ice cream under the same awning their granddaddies once used to keep black folks out. Whitaker's Cadillac is parked outside the town hall. Black paint, chrome wheels, license plate that reads RZLNT1, Resilient One. Levi scoffs. That man wouldn't last a week fixing fence posts in 102-degree heat. Inside, Levi doesn't have to wait long. Trent Whitaker comes strolling out of his office like he owns the oxygen. Tan skin, pressed shirt, aviators resting atop a thick head of silver hair. He smiles when he sees Levi, but it doesn't touch his eyes. "Levi," he says, voice using fake southern charm. "Heard you got the notice. Nasty business. Bureaucracy's a headache, ain't it?" Levi doesn't answer, just looks him square in the eye. Trent's smile widens. "But don't worry, we'll sort it out. Maybe sell off a few acres, come to an arrangement. No need to make this personal." But it is personal. It's always been. "You had that paperwork ready before I even got the notice," Levi says, voice low and steady. Trent shrugs. "Just doing my job. County records flagged some irregularities. You know how it goes. Sometimes land ends up in the wrong hands. Time corrects things. Wrong hands. There it is." The mask slips, just for a moment. Just enough for Levi to see the truth behind Trent's cool composure.
This isn't about land.
It's about erasure. It's about legacy. It's about a black man who dared to keep what his ancestors earned, and a white man who can't stand the idea of that. As Levi walks out of the town hall, the sun beats down like judgment. This ain't just a storm anymore. It's a war. And Levi's got no choice but to stand tall. The first court hearing is set for a Tuesday morning. Small room. Too quiet. Fluorescent lights buzz like flies. Levi sits alone at the defendant's table, his worn denim jacket out of place among the starched suits and polished shoes. He's not just fighting for land anymore. He's fighting for his bloodline, his name, his very right to exist on soil that remembers his ancestors' footsteps. Trent Whitaker sits across from him, flanked by two lawyers in $1,000 suits. One whispers something in his ear, and they both chuckle, like this is a game. Like Levi's entire legacy is just a chess piece to be knocked off the board. The judge, a middle-aged white man with cold, bored eyes, barely glances at Levi. But Trent? Trent gets a nod and a warm, "Good morning, councilman." Like he's not the one trying to rob a man blind in broad daylight. The hearing is procedural. Technical terms. Filing deadlines. Levi barely speaks. When he does, his voice carries, deep, firm, but shaking with restraint. "Your Honor," he says, "this land was passed to me through 4 generations. It was bought fair. Paid for. My deed is on record." The judge raises a brow. "Mr. Crawford, you'll need to prove uninterrupted legal ownership. This isn't about family stories. It's about documentation." Family stories. They always call it that. Stories. As if oral history, passed down because written words weren't allowed or trusted, holds no weight. Outside, after the hearing, Levi meets with the only person who believes him without blinking, Angela Ruiz, a local paralegal barely in her 20s, working 3 jobs to pay for law school. She's Mexican-American, grew up in Burnett, knows exactly how this town operates. "I believe you," she says, flipping through old property records in the dusty back room of the county clerk's office. "And I'm going to help you prove they're lying." They find it on the 3rd day, an 1872 land transfer signed by Levi's great-grandfather, handwritten, faded, but legible, and filed. Whitaker's people must have known about it, but it's been conveniently left out of the court packet. That's when Levi knows. This isn't incompetence. It's sabotage. He drives home that night and finds a "for sale" sign hammered into his front gate. Big red letters. Slanted.
Loud.
His stomach drops. The sign wasn't there that morning. He yanks it out with shaking hands. The next day, he finds tire tracks near his barn. Fresh ones. Someone's been on his land. When he reports it to the sheriff, the deputy barely writes it down. Could be kids. Or maybe you just forgot you left it there. Levi looks the man dead in the eye. "I don't forget." The deputy shrugs, ambivalent. "Unless they broke something, not much we can do." He walks away before Levi can speak. That night, a spray of paint appears on his barn. Not yours.
Red.
Jagged.
Dripping.
Angela's the one who shows up first. She photographs everything. Brings 2 law students from Austin with her. Both black, both furious. This is intimidation. one of them says. And it's illegal. Angela nods. And it's not working. But it is working. Levi's sleep is restless. The horses are skittish. Neighbors who used to wave now look away. One even muttered, "Should have sold while you had the chance." At the grocery store, Trent Whitaker's campaign signs are popping up on lawns. Progress for Burnett, they read. Progress. Code for takeover. Levi's house is quiet. Too quiet. But when he looks out at his land, his home, he knows one thing for certain. He's not backing down. They've come for his birthright. But they'll have to fight for it. The second court date feels more like a funeral than a hearing. Levi steps through the courthouse doors with dust on his boots and steel in his spine. He's wearing a clean white shirt, buttoned all the way up, and a Dolores old cross around his neck. Not for God, not today. For her. For what was taken. For what he refuses to give up. Trent Whitaker's already there, smirking like the verdict's carved in stone. He nods at Levi like they're old friends playing cards, like this isn't theft dressed in legal language. "Morning, Levi," he says, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. "You sure you want to keep fighting this? Could just hand over the land. Save yourself the embarrassment." Levi doesn't answer. He just walks past, slow and deliberate, never breaking eye contact. Inside, the gallery is packed. Reporters in the back. A few neighbors pretending they aren't watching. Angela sits beside Levi, her satchel stuffed with files, affidavits, and county maps. Behind them, the two law students from Austin whisper to each other, eyes trained on the front of the courtroom. The judge calls order. Proceedings begin. Trent's lawyer, smooth-voiced, well-practiced, lays it all out. "Your Honor, we have reason to believe that Mr. Crawford's land is partially overlapping with historical Whitaker property. These findings are supported by recent surveys and inconsistencies in Mr. Crawford's deed history. We respectfully request transfer of title to our client for the disputed acreage." The judge nods slowly, expression unreadable, then turns to Levi. "Mr. Crawford, do you have anything to present in your defense?" Levi stands. Doesn't speak at first. He lets the silence hang heavy, thick enough to make even Trent shift in his seat. Then he says, calm and low, "I do." He nods to Angela, who walks to the clerk and hands over a manila envelope. Inside, photocopies of the original 1872 deed, the one signed by Levi's great-grandfather. And right beside it, something even more damning. A zoning commission email, leaked from within Trent's own office, detailing the plan to seize and reallocate minority-owned properties under a false survey initiative. Trent's name is all over it. So is the name of the developer from Austin. The courtroom shifts. A murmur ripples through the gallery. The judge squints at the paper. Levi continues. "That land has been in my family for 150 years. And if it wasn't for Ms. Ruiz here digging through moldy files and risking her job, y'all wouldn't even be looking at the truth." Trent's face flushes, red climbing from his collar to his hairline. "Your Honor, this is inadmissible," his lawyer barks. "This was obtained without a proper warrant." "No," the judge says suddenly, voice cutting through the noise. "This is relevant. And serious." Trent jumps to his feet. This is ridiculous. That land's a mess. He doesn't even have a working irrigation system, and he can't. The judge slams the gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Whitaker." The courtroom falls quiet. Angela leans into Levi and whispers, "Now." Levi looks around the room, lets his voice rise. "My people were told they couldn't own land, couldn't read, write, vote, or even stand in a courtroom like this. But we held on. We endured. And no matter how many surveys you fake or signs you paint or deputies you send, this land is mine." The silence that follows isn't empty. It's reckoning. And for the first time, Trent looks unsure. His smile is gone. His confidence cracked. Levi just sits back down, eyes forward. He's not done yet. But Whitaker, he's already lost. Trent Whitaker's hands are clenched into fists now, knuckles bone white on the polished defense table. He's been caught. But it hasn't hit yet. Not fully. The judge leans forward, scrutinizing the documents like they might detonate. This email chain references an intentional falsification of survey boundaries. Councilman Whitaker, can you explain this? Trent clears his throat, tries to regain the smirk. That's not mine. I never saw those emails. Must be a forgery. Angela is already one step ahead.
She stands.
With all due respect, Your Honor, we subpoenaed Councilman Whitaker's office email server yesterday. The court has access to the metadata logs. The emails were sent from his account. Time-stamped. IP-matched. She walks to the clerk again, lays down a USB drive like a final nail. And there's more. The lights dim. A projector screen comes alive on the wall behind the judge. A silent video clip begins to play. Grainy security footage.
Nighttime.
The camera's angle is low, but it's clear. A black Cadillac pulling up near Levi's property. Two men get out. One of them carries a hammer. The other unrolls a red spray paint can. The Cadillac's plate glints under the moonlight. RZLNT1. Angela's voice is crisp. Councilman Whitaker's vehicle was recorded trespassing on Mr. Crawford's property the same night the barn was vandalized. Our tech team matched the footage to a neighbor's outdoor camera 2 miles north. The footage was uploaded to a cloud server. Unedited. Verified. The courtroom gasps. Several people stand to get a better look. The judge slams his gavel. Order. Trent rises, jaw trembling now. This is a setup. That could be anyone. You can't even prove that's me. The judge doesn't blink. That is your car. And that's your private staffer with you, isn't it? Mr. Dunn. Suddenly, from the back of the courtroom, a voice rings out. I'll testify. All eyes turn. It's Dunn. Trent's own assistant. Nervous, sweating, gripping the sides of his jacket like it's the only thing keeping him upright. I didn't know it'd go this far, Dunn stammers. He told me it was just to scare the guy. Said no one would take a poor old cowboy seriously. Said we'd clean it up before anyone noticed. Trent spins, furious. You lying coward. The judge snaps. Sit down, Councilman. It's chaos now. Reporters scramble from the back row, cameras flashing. The judge orders an immediate recess for contempt charges to be drawn. Trent tries to protest, but his voice is lost in the noise. The bailiff steps forward. For the first time, he's the one being cornered. As Trent's being escorted out, he turns to Levi, eyes burning. You think this means anything? You're nothing. You're nobody. Levi doesn't even flinch. He simply says, calm and clear, then why did you try so hard to erase me? The words hang in the air, echoing louder than any gavel. By the time Trent is out of the room, the courtroom has changed. So has Burnett County. People who once avoided Levi's gaze are watching him now, really seeing him. The cowboy they dismissed, the black man they ignored, just took down one of the most powerful men in the county. Not with rage. Not with violence. With truth. And a little help from those brave enough to stand beside him. The tables didn't just turn. They flipped. Trent Whitaker's mugshot hits the morning news before the sun even rises. It's surreal. His smug grin replaced with a blank stare, tie missing, collar wrinkled, as if the weight of truth finally pressed down on his neck. The headlines read like thunderclaps. Local councilman arrested in land seizure scandal. Surveillance ties Whitaker to racially motivated vandalism. Hero rancher exposes political corruption in Burnett County. The empire Trent built on lies collapses overnight. Investors pull out. His real estate deals disintegrate. Sponsors abandon his re-election campaign. A week later, his financial records are subpoenaed in a federal investigation for fraud, and by month's end, the IRS comes knocking. His family flees the press. His allies, once loud and proud, vanish like dust on the wind. Burnett County watches it all unfold. And for once, they don't look away. Outside Levi's ranch, cars begin to slow. Not to sneer, not to judge, but to wave. One old man rolls down his window and mutters, should have said something sooner. I was wrong. Levi nods. Says nothing. He doesn't need their pity. Doesn't crave their praise. He just wants peace. Peace, after months of whispered threats and stolen nights. Peace. After years of pretending to be smaller so white men wouldn't feel threatened by his strength, his story, his presence on land he bled to protect. The for sale sign never returns. Instead, a new one is posted on the fence. Crawford Ranch, established 1872. Reclaimed 2025. Angela visits every week now, bringing fresh-baked tortillas and law books she hopes to replace with real case files someday. The students from Austin drive up to volunteer, helping rebuild the barn that was defaced, now painted white with bold black lettering. We're still here. And then there's the girl. The one nobody expected. The courtroom door swings open the day the judge officially rules in Levi's favor, and a young woman in thrift store boots steps forward. Barely 20. Her eyes shine like rain. Her voice trembles. "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner," she says. "I'm Molly. Dolores was my mom." Levi's chest tightens. His knees almost buckle. I didn't know she married you. She left when I was a baby. I found her letters. Found your letters." The room spins, soft and unreal. "I came to tell you, I don't want anything from you. I just wanted to meet the man who never stopped writing." She reaches into her coat pocket, pulls out a faded photograph. Dolores, smiling, holding a baby girl. Levi takes it like it's made of glass. His fingers shake. He stares for a long time. Then, slowly, he opens his arms. The embrace is quiet. No words. Just decades of silence breaking all at once. Outside, the wind shifts. A hawk soars overhead. The fields glisten with morning dew. And for the first time in what feels like forever, Levi breathes without weight pressing on his chest. He's not just a grieving cowboy anymore. He's a fighter, a father, a man who stood alone until the world finally saw what he stood for. And this time, they listened.